It's no secret that back in 2008 and 2009, Jeff Hardy was probably the most popular wrestler of the whole entire company. Back when you had The Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, still full time with the company. And of course, you had John Cena as the top guy, Randy Orton, Edge, Batista, Rey Mysterio, CM Punk. You had a lot of heavy hitters, back in the ruthless aggression era, and in the whole decade of the 2000s, right? Going into 2010s. But Jeff Hardy was already gone by 2010 full time from the WWE. But what Jeff Hardy said about how if he was living better in his 20s and 30s, if he was on the straight and narrow, he would have been a bigger star than John Cena. And there's no and if buts about it. There is no probably. It would have been a fact, right? It would have been the case. Jeff Hardy was ultra popular. There was a point in time where he was outselling John Cena in merchandise. If you go back to 2008, 2009, there was no one more popular than Jeff Hardy at that time. I'm convinced that Vince McMahon had always wanted to push Jeff Hardy to the top, to out, to pretty much over exceed John Cena's push. Vince McMahon pretty much had no choice but to, get rid of Jeff Hardy because he became his own worst enemy. He derailed his own push and got himself fired, the first time around, and then he had gotten released in '09, or I don't know what the situation was. Maybe he didn't want to renew his contract at that time, or maybe he was just released. I don't know. Or his contract was expiring, and I guess they weren't coming to terms with renewing his contract. But I think Vince knew that Jeff Hardy was a liability at best, and that him being over the way he was, it would have worked out so much better if the way he's living now, which is better, if he was only living that way in his 20s and 30s, like Jeff Hardy said, he would have been bigger than John Cena. And that is a fact. John Cena was considered lucky to be on top for the WWE as long as he was. Because let's be honest, Vince McMahon had other options to, other than John Cena, to be the face of the company. But John Cena just proved to be the most reliable out of everyone else that Vince McMahon was considering. And I think Jeff Hardy was the last true option for Vince McMahon to consider being the face. But unfortunately, Jeff Hardy became his own worst enemy. And I don't think Vince McMahon ever wanted to ruin Jeff Hardy's career or ever derail it. He did that himself. Vince McMahon, like I said, has always liked Jeff Hardy, right? He's always liked Jeff Hardy. He's always been a fan of Jeff Hardy. Okay? If you need proof, go back to the way he was being booked, during his run in the 2000s. Vince was very high on Jeff Hardy in those years. And so it wouldn't have been a surprise if Jeff was to be the true top guy of the WWE if he had gotten his stuff together, no doubt. And I think even John Cena knows it. I think he knew that there are more guys popular than him at that time. But because they proved to be unreliable, And it comes down to who was the most reliable for Vince McMahon in the 2000s and in 2010s. It was John Cena that proved to be the most reliable. See, in that era, Vince McMahon cannot turn to Triple H and Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker forever because, quite frankly, their time was nearing its end. Around 2010, Triple H stopped wrestling full time. Shawn Michaels retired in 2010. In 2010, Undertaker started to take up a part time schedule going forward. So in 2010, you knew it was Super Cena and nothing else. And at that time, Jeff Hardy was already gone. So I definitely agree when Jeff says I would have been bigger. I would have been a top guy in the WWE if I was just getting my life straightened out and, not making all these mistakes and just staying on the straight and narrow.